Ginger and Petunia by Patricia Polaco. Virginia Vincent Folsom was a very elegant lady. She lives in a scrumptious home in a very exclusive neighborhood. Ginger, as she is called, drives a snappy little sports car, collects fine wines, and is a gourmet cook. But beautiful clothes, are her passion. You are what you wear, she always says. She is also a brilliant pianist who gave up the stage to teach a dazzling array of musical prodigies. She accepts only the most promising young musicians. Her waiting list is endless. She hears her students from 7:30 in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. She listens, and listens and listens. But the most astonishing thing about Ginger is Petunia, her pet pig. Petunia lives right under Ginger's house, just under the staircase next to the grand piano. Ginger does everything with Petunia. She cooks for her, she sews blankets for her, and takes her for rides on her little red car. Ginger models every new outfit she buys for Petunia first, and practically every evening they listen to a grand opera together. Ginger even has a mud hole installed in her backyard just for Petunia. Of course, she built a lovely gazebo over the top of it and make it look like a spa. My Petunia does so love her mud soaks, Ginger always says. One day, an engraved invitation arrived for Ginger all the way from England. I've been invited to the guest soloist in the International Congress of Pianists in London. Ginger trumpeted. Ginger was beside herself with excitement, but I will have to leave for England tomorrow, and oh dear, there is no food in the house, and a whole week of lessons will have to be rescheduled. They're all my social obligations, and you, Petunia, who's going to take care of you, Ginger cried. In no time, Ginger called the House Sitters, Inc. and arranged someone to come and take care of Petunia and do everything on her to-do list. The next morning, it was time for Ginger to catch her flight. Well, my dear Petunia, I will miss you very much, Ginger whispered as she kissed her pig snout. Someone will be here within the hour to take care of you. I'll be back before you know it. Wait, we can't do to explain everything?
Yeah.
After Petunia had thought for the longest time, she went to the kitchen. She peered into the refrigerator. It was practically empty, just as Ginger had said. But there were a few vegetables in the crisper, 3 eggs, some flour, and a quart of milk, and a bottle of that rare wine. A weary smile crept across Petunia's face as she put on Ginger's apron. Petunia chopped vegetables as she had seen Ginger do so many times. Then she sauteed them in virgin olive oil, just the way Ginger had shown her. She made pasta from scratch and made a perfect angel spaghetti, just as Ginger did. She made a salad of baby greens, walnuts, and dried cherries, poured herself that rare wine. Then she set herself at the counter, lit the candles, and sipped her Chardonnay. An impotent little wine, insisted yet witty, just a hint of grass, yet buttery. But she amused herself. Then she put on her favorite opera and ate her pasta. When she finished, she got up and erased the phone message from the agency. The next morning, Petunia went into Ginger's closet. She put on one of Ginger's elegant outfits. Getting Ginger's makeup just right was the hardest part. She donned one of Ginger's stunning scarves. Then the doorbell rang. Petunia saw through the people that it was Ginger's first student of the day. Ginger let him in. He went straight to the piano, opened the music, and commenced to play. Petunia listened and nodded at precisely the right times. She pointed out the notes that he missed. When the lesson was over, Petunia pointed at the clock and the lad left. And so it went all day long. Petunia listened to each of Ginger's students. She listened and listened and listened. By the time Petunia heard the last student of the day, she was craving a soak in her glorious mud, just as she was getting ready to peel off Ginger's clothes, leaped into her beloved bubbly muck. She remembered there was no food in the house, so Petunia put on one of Ginger's loveliest hats and favorite sunglasses and found a perfect handbag. She grabbed the car keys from the hall table, leapt into the little red car, and off she went to the grocery store. At the store, Petunia picked only the freshest and the firmest fruits and vegetables, just as she had seen Ginger do. She got everything on Ginger's list. The grocery clerk was a cheery and referred to her as Mrs. Folsom and even helped her out with the bags of groceries. Petunia smiled, tossed him a very generous tip, climbed into the little red car, and drove off. As Petunia opened the door, she heard Ginger leaving a message on the phone, all the way from England. "Hello," she cooed. "You're probably running some of the errands on my list. I hope you are taking very good care of my Petunia. Give her an extra treat for me. Here's my number if you need me. 553-259-332369. Chesterton upon Punsey." Petunia looked at the clock. It was too late for a mutt, so after supper she settled in to study Ginger's to-do list. Called the art museum and explained why I can't attend the installation ceremony for the new statue on Thursday. It said that was tomorrow, too late to cancel. So all the next day, Petunia taught lessons, even though she couldn't seem to get it off her mind of her beloved mud hole under the gazebo just outside the window. When the last student left, Petunia tugged off her dress and was finally getting ready to leap into that beloved muck when the doorbell rang. She looked into the people. It was the car to pick up Ginger up to the museum. Petunia threw on a lovely gown, hat, and scarf and leapt into the car. When she arrived, the ceremony was underway. The speeches were endless and it was hot and stuffy, and so many people. Petunia began to find it hard to stand on 2 feet. She'd be so much comfortable on all fours. Just as the curator was about to conclude his speech, Petunia teetered. She was shaking and very, very dizzy. She braced herself against the statue, but it wobbled, toppled onto the floor. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. There was a gasp, then total silence as the crowd glared at Petunia. "Wait," said the docent. "Ancient Roman statues are always made of marble. This is just cheap plaster." "A forgery," someone howled. "Ginger Folsom," the curator announced, "has saved the day." By the time Petunia had gone home, it was once again too late to soak in her mud spa. By the next morning, the headlines of the paper read, "Virginia Folsom exposes forgery." The phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters wanted interviews. There was endorsement offers of soda from soda companies, paint stores, and an athletic shoe company. At noon, an invitation came from the mayor himself for dinner in Ginger's honor. That very evening, a car would pick up her at 6 o'clock. All day, Petunia was distressed. Mud deprivation does terrible things to a pig. Petunia had put on her dress backwards, and nothing matched. When her students arrived, she just stared out the window in her beloved mud hole. She started to grunt quietly at first, then small squeals. She missed all of the students' wrong notes and had to play their music upside down. Finally, the last student left. Petunia was desperate to rip off her clothes and dive into her bubbling, warm, wet, squishy mud. But the doorbell rang. It was the car for the mayor's dinner. Petunia squealed as she dressed. Her snout twitched, and she grunted almost uncontrollably. But she had to go. After all that Ginger had done for her, she couldn't let her down now.
Telling you that.
The dinner party was a gala affair. Absolutely everyone wanted to know the Virginia Folsom. Petunia stood right next to the mayor in the reception line. Except for some small grunting noises, she was holding together pretty well. Ginger Folsom, alias Petunia Pig, was again a hit. That's until they sat down for the dinner. Instead of using her silverware, Petunia suddenly slurped down on her soup right from the bowl. Then she gobbled down the main course with loud smacking sounds. Finally, she sat back and let out a huge burp. At first, there were only stunned silence, but the hostess said, "Mrs. Folsom has just returned from an exotic country. She is merely demonstrating rare foreign customs." Petunia nodded yes. And so, one by one, the guests joined Petunia. They slurped their soups right out from their bowls, gulped down their food, and one by one, they sat back and burped. "What a original idea to break the ice," one lady sighed. "Madam," the governor said as she kissed Petunia's hoof, "I want to be my most esteemed guest at the black and white ball tomorrow night. I'll send a card for you at 7. Of course, Petunia got home too late to soak in her mud once again. She spent a restless night. Next morning, Petunia heard her student's nose twitch, her skin itched, and she grunted, groaned, and squealed. But she listened to every last one of them all day. But the time of the car arrived to take her to the governor's black and white ball. She looked very glamorous. She had to put one of Ginger's best gowns. The ball was in a full swing when Petunia arrived. She was every inch the lady she knew Ginger would want to be, until the hors d'oeuvres tray came by. Petunia tipped the entire tray in her gaping mouth. She smacked her lips and made loud grunting noises. As she was about to head for the banquet table, the governor himself came up to her. "Madam Folsom, the tango is playing. I have heard this is your favorite dance. Could I have the honor?" he asked with a sweeping bow. As the tango played, the governor swept Petunia onto the dance floor. The two tangoed from side of the ballroom to the other of the perfect unison. Petunia haughty and indifferent, the governor oily and smooth. Their dance was salty and flawless until Petunia saw a huge fountain of chocolate mousy in the center of the banquet hall. It just looked like mud. She pulled the governor toward the fountain of deep brown pudding. She dragged her back into the center of the dance floor. "My dear," he whispered. Petunia picked him up, twirled him around her head, then tried to run into the chocolate goo. She landed right beside her, tipped her over backwards, and dragged her about the floor. Petunia dragged the governor by his collar back to the chocolate fountain. "You're an exciting dancer, Mrs. Folsom," the governor wheezed. Petunia grabbed his ankles, swung him round and round and up into the huge vat of chocolate mousy. Then Petunia grunted and squealed and dove after him. "Now that's a tango," the governor trumpeted. Ginger Folsom was yet again the hit of the party. Everyone that was anyone at the ball jumped into chocolate mousy too. Petunia should have been a very happy pig, but when she was driving home from the ball, she began to cry. The dishes waited for her. Vacuuming waited for her. The whole house was waited for her. And she needed a real mud bath. But when Petunia stepped into the house, the soft lights were on and opera was playing. The house was clean. The table was set and flowers were arranged. A delicious aroma was corrosing from the kitchen. Then she heard a familiar voice. Petunia, my dear pig, I see you have a quiet time. A time. It was Ginger. Petunia jumped into her arms. You know, my dear, you do get the news in London. I know everything. Then Ginger hugged Petunia. You did exactly what you had to do. I promise that I'll never leave you again. Petunia nuzzled Ginger and grunted. And to think no one noticed you, that you weren't me? Well, I always say that you are what you wear. And Petunia, what I gathered, you were a great me. At that very moment, Ginger put on Petunia's favorite opera, then had a both glorious, long, and lovely wallow in the mud together.